Hi everyone, good morning. I'm very excited to be here today. It's actually a perfect transition after Dr. Sambul's talk to discuss with you about wearable devices and mental health. My PhD title is called Engineering Wellness, trying to take more engineering and data-driven approach to mental health. And, oh, this is the clicker, great. And really my research focuses on three main, very dynamic pillars. One is precision medicine that I'm sure Mike introduced today, wearable devices, and mental health, in order to answer a question, and can we really measure mental health? Can we develop an objective measure for mental health using wearable devices? And we want to do it because obviously it can enhance care, but also reduce the cost of treatment for many people around the world. A glimpse into precision medicine, just to cover it. You know, precision medicine, this is the NIH definition, is a very innovative new approach. The goal is to look at the individual level and see how your genes, environment, and lifestyle affect you when considering any treatment or medication. And historically, we all know doctors are looking mainly on averages in studies. You know, you just look at the mean or median and the average response, and you tailor medication for a patient. And it might fit some people, it doesn't fit many others, and there are many different examples of how precision medicine works in today's world. We have cancer treatment that is specific for the tumor profile. We have predictive risk assessment, if it's for breast cancer, BRCA1, BRCA2, but also for cardiovascular diseases, and also in diabetes. So Jen over there, I think, just asked about how if you take glucose into account, so we know you have continuous glucose monitors that can tell you a lot about specific foods and how food spikes your glucose. So there's already a lot going on in precision medicine, and wearable devices are really the next frontier, if you want, in wearable, in precision. Because these devices, as Dr. Sambul just said, 24/7 is always on us. And there's a lot that they can measure. So if you look, we have smartphones that can tell us a lot about our behavior, and they can use to answer some physiological assessment. We can also use some diet log with them. We have different wearables or even smart rings that measure various physiological parameters like heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, and more. And smart patches that might be even a bit more invasive. We usually tell, okay, this is completely non-invasive, but those smart patches like glucose, like continuous glucose monitoring are a bit invasive. But still, we can categorize them as really non-invasive. And these devices really enable us to have a very proactive health approach, right? We can immediately see your heart rate or your blood, even some devices, blood pressure, temperature, and trying to understand what's causing what. So these are really new frontier in precision medicine. And what they really help us is to establish the individual baseline. They're always on us, and we can now know, you know, if you look at atrial fibrillation, the type of arrhythmia that we just discussed, you can know, oh, there is a shift, something is wrong. So there's a wide variety of literature that already prove that wearable devices can detect various diseases. In our lab, we showed how we can detect COVID-19 infection only from your wearables, Lyme disease, and of course, various things related to your glycemic health. And now the real question is, we saw we can detect health changes, we can deliver some very interesting health recommendations. Where is the next frontier in mental health? Can we actually detect stress, anxiety, detection, and what can we say? And usually when I discuss about wearables and mental health, people ask, you know, I know when I'm stressed. So is it actually true? Do you know when you're stressed? Or if it's depression is not like 0 to 1. It's a progression. There are many subtypes. Can we early detect? Can we have biomarkers and signs? Hey, you're starting to show signs of people that are starting to develop major depression disorder. So these are the type of things that we're thinking about. Now, our lab already previously published, that was before my time, a paper that showed that we can detect along COVID, early detection of COVID, we can also detect stress, mainly related to home and work. So in orange, you can see some alerts we sent people that confirmed, hey, I was stressed. And we could pick it up. The signal here was resting heart rate only through the wearable. And sorry that I'm throwing on you this big table, but I just want to show you there's a vast literature that's trying to look on mental health and wearable devices But the problem is that if you think what the numbers that were thrown in the previous talk, Apple did a 400,000 people study. You can see the study here is very, we're talking about much less than usually 100 people. Also, the duration is usually very low. It's very short, okay, only a few weeks. We have progression of diseases like depression, anxiety, stress can last much longer. And also when you think about models, okay, how do you develop those algorithms? We all know ChatGPT, deep learning. We have very good models that work, for example, for image classification in medical analysis. So for radiology, we have deep convolution neural network. It's already approved. It's FDA. We know exactly how it works. But for mental health, we really, every single paper I've seen use different algorithms and that you cannot really reproduce the results, and the results are widely vary. So one solution can be, let's just go big. Let's have a large study for a long time. But that's not only it. We did it, and that's what I'm about to show, but it's not only that. We also need to look at the end for the biomarkers. What is really the biomarkers that are associated with depression, with stress, with anxiety, and also with happiness, not only negative things, right? Happiness, calm, focus. So these are really tough questions. And one of the things that, the main key questions that I'm looking at my PhD is really what is the feasibility of real-time monitoring your mental health? Can we find correlation, meaningful correlation to digital biomarkers? So if I can say, resting heart rate plus change of temperature plus elevated oxygen levels in the blood is highly correlated with stress, or with depression, with anxiety. So this is the type of biomarkers we are looking. Also, we're very obsessed in the lab to identify what we call phenotypes. So we invented a new word called mental types. Are there any mental types that we can characterize? People with this type of biomarkers, these physiology markers are the depressed group. These people have anxiety. Can we actually differentiate between all these different mental conditions? It's still not clear. And the last question is really what machine learning techniques and models can we develop that will be specific for mental health like we have for other applications. So with that, we really launched one of the largest studies in the field. I know Apple actually has a bigger study, but it's Apple. We have more than 700 participants that we recruited. We follow participants that went into a very unique wellness intervention, a 6-day intervention with Tony Robbins called Date with Destiny. We previously investigated this intervention. Actually, it was led by Dr. Ariel Gans and showed a very meaningful changes in people's mental health. So we decided to tap again into this 6-day intervention and put smartwatches on people, do the whole multi-omics, also take blood and stool, which I'm not gonna go into today, and see what happens when people change. Really try to look for those biomarkers after people go into intervention and what change and actually how long they can hold this change in their mental health. So we gave the watch and asked many mental health questionnaires for people before they went into the intervention, and really day after the intervention, that's the post-intervention, we asked them all those questions again, and then after 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. But more than that, on a weekly basis, few times a week, we actually send them surveys to tap into what's their mood. So now we have a very big data set across 1 year together with a watch that we can really try to look for correlation. And again, it's really crucial the before and after the intervention, because then we can actually observe how people change. And I can tell you that we're already seeing some incredible results. Unfortunately, because the study is still not done, I cannot share with you too much results today, but I do want to share with you one challenge that is go back to how we think about models, and that's something that I'm spending most of my time on. So if you look at one participant and how much data we get, so this is just a sample. I get actually much more signals. I just focus here on heart rate. Heart rate is usually measured every 5 seconds. So in 1 year, I'll get more than 6 million measurements. But respiratory rate or breathing rate, I only get few times overnight. So it's about 1,000 a year. Steps, again, you get many measurements, depends on people's activity, and also skin temperature, we get usually once a night. It's only being measured overnight. So you have various time resolutions. You get so many data points. again, we have 700 people. You can think you have at least 1 million data points only from one person. But on the other hand, we have all these mental health questionnaires and results, which are much less dense, right? So we get maybe 200 or 250 data points about people's health, mental health, and then how you go on and correlate them and align them with all the data we collect. So actually what we're trying to do is develop this really mental health wearable analysis kit. When we take all this data, we apply some very different statistical techniques, either what we do with, for example, with missing data. People not always wear the watch, and actually it's quite interesting. When you don't wear the watch, maybe that's where you're most stressed, right? You're like, okay, get the watch out of here. It's out of battery. I don't have the focus now to charge it. What do you do with the different signals? What am I actually looking for? Am I looking for your median heart rate, and I want to look how it's elevated, or I don't care about that, and I just want to look at how many times it was elevated above a certain threshold. So there are many things that we're taking into account, trying to develop these models that hopefully will become the gold standards for how we process mental health data. And with that, I will conclude just a bit about the vision and how we see the mental health. That is not only how we see mental health with wearables, but also other diseases. So the first step is that obviously we're going to continuously monitor the individual. And then we set a baseline. So we have a baseline, and then we can detect deviations. Even if so sometimes we get, sensors are not the most accurate. Some of them have problems, although they became very accurate along the years. Deviation is what we really care about, deviation from the normal baselines. And then when you have a deviation, let's say we start to see that you're becoming stressed, we're going to offer you an intervention. It might be breathing work, it might be take a break, maybe drink a coffee. Obviously, we're going to ask you, is it true? Like, are you really stressed? No, I'm just watching a scary movie. Okay, let's go back and recalibrate the model, personalize it. But if you are stressed or you have anxiety or depression, you can have a real-time intervention, either on your phone, on your watch, and then we can quantify. We can look, did it help you? Many people do yoga and meditation. What's really the effect? We're really curious about what is the effect of all these different types of interventions. And then, of course, again, personalize and really get to know the individual and offer better solutions. And there's many other cycles, how it connects to your clinician. Next time, I still can't believe it that we go to the doctor and they can't connect to our wearable data, and I really hope it will become the future in the next few years. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. If you spark any curiosity in your interest, we're teaching, me and Ariel, a whole class about it here at Stanford called Engineering Wellness every quarter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for Ziv? Raise your hands up high. Okay, we got one right there. Oh, and then Hillary will go next.
Hey.
Hi. So one quick question is when you are using wearable, right? So you usually face with a lot of noise. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, great question. It's one of the the main problems. First, you need to remember that we're already using at some level process data. Unfortunately, we're not tapping into the raw data of the wearables. It's already going through some noise reduction. So this is one. We're just applying various models. It's like the obvious answer. Anomaly detection. There's already quite a good models out there for each signal to filter noise. So if it's heart rate, there's already vast literature on heart rate. Temperature less, but breathing rate more. So here is mainly tapping into existing already vast knowledge on these type of signals. Yeah.
Very much appreciated your talk. My name's Hillary from New York, and one thing that Ariel said in the beginning was we have an issue with objective measures in general. Yeah. If you look at the cardiovascular field, I really feel like it moved quickly because everybody knows what an HDL is and an LDL.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm wondering is, have you thought about a parallel path to working with a payer to try to figure out how this could be reimbursable in a doctor's office? Because I'm a consultant for pharmaceutical companies, biotech firms. It all comes down to how do we systematize and create that embedded into the system.
Yeah. Oh, this is a fantastic question. And actually, when I joined the lab I heard it both from Ariel and Mike, that is part of the reason we're doing this type of studies is to demonstrate first how powerful those wellness interventions are. We studied both Tony Robbins, Byron Katie, and we did see amazing results. So, publish it, show the healthcare system that, maybe the first line of defense shouldn't be antidepressant or others, or hey, maybe, you can actually finance those interventions because they do work. So that's, I hope, one answer to you. But also, I think the wearable is really going to be the next big thing. And obviously, Apple going into that field, it's also already going to show the healthcare system that they need to be there as well. And maybe next time you go to the doctor, they're going to give you some kind of a watch to measure yourself.
Thank you.